All right. So we are live. I have made some crazy videos today. I know the one's like an hour and a half long, but if you watch the first like 15 minutes of it, you pretty much, I think, have heard the argument. It's that typical bullshit, somebody trying to cry bully someone else and then me getting involved and just basically calling everybody involved bitches. Um, just It's like I'm getting so sick and tired. Hey, Daniel Barry, how you doing? I am just sick and tired of the T's and the Q's. It's like the LGs and B's. They're cool. They don't bother anybody. I'm not saying I agree with or condone their lifestyle, but they don't bother anybody. They're just kind of, whatever. But them damn T's and Q's will not shut the hell up. And I'd like to know who has convinced them that, like, people in America are hunting them down to kill them. Like, who put that delusion in their damn heads? Because the answer is nobody. Nobody ever said that, but they seem to be convinced. They're always talking about the trans genocide. And it's like, the only people killing you idiots is yourselves. And that might be a harsh thing to say, but it is kind of the reality of the situation. Like, you're not being hunted down and murdered by randos. No one gives a shit. And they're like, we just want to live our lives. Well, shut up. You know? Get a job. Freaking buy an apartment. Compete in drag shows or something. Do whatever you want. Stay away from kids and stop bitching all the time. And then people would be like, see, when I was very young, that was kind of a thing that people would do, go to the drag show. And because it was kind of fun watching these people do this thing, it was all in good humor. Like, nobody had any ill will or anything. It was just a thing. Like in the 80s when I was hanging out with all the gothy people and the whatnot. Whatever. So I've been to a couple gay clubs when I was young, and I've seen some drag shows when I was very young. It was always like a, well, live and let live situation, right? Like, no one gives a shit what you're doing. And no one was bitching and complaining and carrying on either. It was really just people living their lives. And then in the last 15 years, 10 years or 15 years, people have decided to go completely stark raving insane and start, carrying on and just never shutting the hell up about things. But anyway, that's neither RPGs or Trench Crusade. So, if anybody wants to talk about a particular RPG that I might know about, just say so, and I will. As far as painting, I am currently painting in the armor on a pair of artillery witches because they're one of the units that the Heretic Legion can take. That for one, it's like 0-1, take 1 to 2. So you can only take 1 to 2, but it's a 0-1 choice. And I understand why too, because if not, there would be assholes running around with like armies that were literally like 5 or 6 artillery witches. Because what are you going to do about, some evil, hellish beast that can literally summon a bomb from hell into their hand and then telekinetically chuck it at you? They're really good at killing big stuff. Let's just say that. So I have, instead of painting most of my stuff, silver or whatever, I've been painting all of my stuff bronze. I hate that I hear things go bleep, but I never know what they are. It's like, it's not Facebook. Is it like Discord? If it is, I need to go on Discord and turn all the alerts off or whatever. But yeah, I've got a couple of anointed guys. These are, as I said, all for Hungar's army. So, oh, see, that's a different beat. That's a Jose. Hello, Jose.
Hello, how are you?
Can't complain. Woke up feeling like trash, but thankfully I've hydrated and caffeinated and
Okay.
starting
Yeah,
to feel
yes.
better.
Yesterday I was a little bit tired too because those were very days with lots of activities. So when I was there, I was asleep. So there were some periods of silence. So I'm sorry about that in your
Yeah.
video. But no, right now I have more energy. So also a good coffee.
Well,
How are you? Are you painting? Ah, by the way, I watched the videos that you made.
which one?
The one about JD Vance, I think, and
Yeah,
implied.
here's the thing with me, and I don't know if, like, maybe I need to talk to my doctor about it, right? Anytime people show weakness around me, it just makes me want to crush them. It's like I don't feel sympathy for the weak. If you act weak around me, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, that I understand that.
Everyone has to act strong. And that's why I said, like, the thing about the Europeans is like all the good ones died in the world wars. Because, I mean, they're just sitting here letting themselves be treated the way they're being treated. And none of them are willing to do anything. It's like, we fought a freaking war about it.
In
You
Costa
know?
Rica, in Costa Rica, politicians were stealing money and doing ugly things and this. And in the last elections, basically the surprise was that there was a third party winning the elections, and people voted for the president just not for solving problems, just to annoy the corrupt politicians. And he's doing a great job at that.
Good. I was
So
actually watching, my wife had this on, a show about El Salvador and how they went from being like one of the most dangerous countries in the world to one of the safest.
yeah, yeah, that's
And they had allowed basically some guy, I don't know who he was, to actually tour their new prison system. And what they were doing was really smart. It was like the way the prisons were set up, none of the inmates had any time to rest. They were always doing something. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know.
But the stuff they were doing was like stuff that would help them later. Like they were allowed to go to school, there was a university, there were trade schools. There you could train there to become like a medic. You could train there to become like a construction worker. And then if you were really good, um, you could go to the garden basically, which is where all the food that gets ate at the prison is grown.
Oh, but that is not the Secot prison, right?
And it was like they have cows and they milk the cows and they grow the all the food and vegetables and everything, chickens, whatever. And then if you're an inmate in this prison, they feed you, Hey, we got Vic.
Oh,
And the way it works is the
hello.
more you work and behave yourself and do good, the they double the time earned. So if they
Interesting.
send you to jail for 4 years for something and you get a job in the prison and bust ass and learn how to do a trade and work and whatever, you get out in 2 or 4
Interesting.
because
Here's my
every day
problem.
counts
Here's
as
my
2.
problem with guys getting out of prison early for some crimes. Is I knew an individual that went to prison for meth, went in, came out, went back to the same shit. I
Yeah,
think I think
well, then he'll go back to prison.
I know, but I think he should have stayed in far longer than he did. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
The thing with El Salvador is that they consider different types of people in jail. For example, there are some people who have no fixing. Okay, no one can fix them. Okay, so they are at the Secot prison, which is basically the one the high security prison. And there are others, like I don't know, like some guy was drunk and committed a crime while he was drunk or something like that. It is like a circumstantial situation, not really because the guy was not fixable. Okay, so basically they designed this system considering those differences. So
Yeah,
I think
it's really
I think
good. It's like if you're in there for like drugs or theft or, something like not crazy or violent, then you go to the one prison. And if you play the game, then you can get out early by, again, learning a trade, working. They have a seamstress shop, like making clothing there, that has 2,200 prisoners working in 3 8-hour shifts round clock.
yeah.
So literally 6,600. And they make every single stitch of clothing worn by anyone in El Salvador. They make the prison uniforms, the military uniforms, the school uniforms, like anything the government uses at all, they make.
hmm Yeah, that's
And because you work your 8 hours, then it counts as 2 days off your sentence.
indeed the president of El Salvador visited Costa Rica and evaluated the prison system. And basically, after analyzing the situation, it was very interesting because they calculated how much is the minimum wage for a worker,
Mm-hmm.
and they found that the prison system is spending more on a prisoner than the minimum wage of a worker. So basically, they are getting more benefits from taxpayers than they would from just working on their own. So it looks like it's more beneficial to be a criminal than being a worker.
Yeah, what this guy was
It
doing,
was
because
interesting.
I saw them, they toured 2 prisons. The one prison was basically for the people they thought were redeemable, and it was split like into like 3 different prisons. So you had the farm, which was literally a farm. They had horses and goats. The inmates were walking around with machetes, and the guards didn't give a shit because the people who got to go work on the farm were the ones that had proven that They were serious about, not being douchebags.
Well, yeah, that's the
So
mental.
they,
That's the
they were
mental thing.
given,
I was gonna go through that with you. I was gonna say, hey, the mental aspect. I got to go through the psychologist or get, you know what I mean, figure out those little
that's
core
the other
stuff.
thing the prison does in El Salvador, though, is all of the people who go to the prison have to go through like civics education, where they're taught basically that they're not useless, that they can do things, and that they are supposed to be like loyal to their country, and that they're not beyond hope. They just need to learn and whatever, and when they get out, they'll be fine, right? So there's a lot of like, I guess, social studies involved in it. And then there's the other prison. What's up, Muktuk? Which is where all of the like MS-13 guys were. And that prison, if you go to that prison, you're never leaving. It's like, that's what they say. They say when you walk through these doors, you will never walk back out of them. It's
Yeah,
just,
that is the Secot prison. Yeah.
yeah, that's the second one. And they got like 40 guys sleeping on these freaking giant like bunk bed things that are like 8 high, and like they get nothing. Like their lives suck.
Fuck
No,
around,
I
find
am
out.
not from the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union stopped existing in '89 too. If you look close, that is the Russian Federation.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the double-headed eagle of orthodoxy with the sword, the globe, and Saint George killing the dragon. Because modern Russia is very religious. But I don't know. I liked it. I mean, and the prisoners liked it. That was what was crazy. Is like this guy was, you support Putin? I support my Slavic brothers, regardless. Um, is like when the guy was able to like interview the inmates, they liked it. Not the one place, that place, they hated it. They weren't allowed to talk. There was like a jammer on that, so there could be no cell phones or radios or nothing. I mean, it was horrible. They were just dead-eyed guys covered in face tattoos and shit like that, right? But the other prison, the guys were all happy. They're all walking around doing jobs and whatever their jobs were, like some guys worked in the kitchen. So they would get the food from the farm, and then they would make all the meals for the inmates. The whole thing is the prison was totally self-contained.
Yeah,
Every single part of the prison fed to the next part of the prison.
what happens in Costa Rica is that there are some Congress people who basically are lawyers for criminals. So basically, they are not in the side of the citizen, So and basically, what the president has invited is citizens to get rid of those politicians. So because imagine that there was a project for a law that was about organized crime, and guess what? Yeah, so
It
you
went
can
away.
imagine. Yeah, so basically, the project did not pass against organized crime. Can you imagine that? So
Yeah, what they were saying on that show is when this new president in El Salvador got voted in, like within a week, he locked up every single member of MS-13, all the gangs.
yeah, that is because
Like he locked them all up.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
10% of the population of the country
hmm
got locked up. And
yeah,
they
but
didn't go to the good jail. They went to the bad one.
yeah, it was not that they were jailed. It was that the average citizen was set free from the jail that it already was. The
Right.
nation.
And then in the other jail, they were asking they were asking the inmates, like, what this jail used to be like? And he said, well, there were gangs and prostitution, and it was covered with filth and graffiti and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, you're watching the guy walk around, and it's like, it looked like a college campus. It was clean, no gangs, no nothing like that, because the inmates, they know they don't want to go to that other prison. And so, you support Putin, question mark. Let me ask you, Owenson, do you support Putin? And by supporting Putin, what do you mean? Like, do you think I send him money or something? Not that he needs it. He is the wealthiest human being on the planet of all time. Not that anyone knows his actual net worth, but because he owes so much, he owns so much of Gazprom and basically everything in Russia. He's a trillionaire, like who knows how many times over, like every Russian business he owns a part of. So very rich guy. But yeah, the whole do you support Putin is like, what are you asking? Supporting for what? President of the United States? No. Do I respect him more than the Europeans crying on stage because J.D. Vance said some mean words to him? Yes. Because that's not part of that never see. You'll never see a Russian politician crying because somebody said something.
That's not part of that speech.
Oh,
and it was all true. Some of that crap that's coming out of Europe right now is just disgusting.
Yeah, and the German guy, we don't share the same. Good. Fuck you guys. Good. I don't want to share the same thing as you guys. You guys throw people in jail for salty memes. Get fucked.
You get the thought police in Britain. You're even thinking about something within 200 feet of an abortion clinic and you can go to prison.
Right.
How do you like that? You're silently praying within 50 meters of an abortion clinic. 50 meters. And you can go to prison for it. Bullshit.
That is like 175 feet for you patriots out there.
It's still bullshit.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not hurting anybody. You're not doing anything wrong whatsoever besides thinking in your head. So,
standing there silently thinking about the guy they arrested. He was basically saying a little prayer because he and his ex-girlfriend had aborted a child and he felt bad about it. But he wasn't bothering anybody. He was just standing there. And the British police showed up, asked him what he's doing. He told them, and they threw his ass in jail. They do that shit all the time. They are so bad in Britain that they will let a North African rapist out of prison to make room to put somebody who posted a spicy meme in prison.
Oh, I know.
The Swedes are even worse too. Like, this one girl got raped in Sweden by, a rocket scientist that they imported from North Africa. And because she was so angry and vociferous about it, when she was complaining about it, they put her in jail.
In Costa Rica, Costa Rican government is collaborating with U.S. government to basically add some scanners to fight the business of drugs. So let's see how it goes. And hopefully during the next elections, probably the Congress people will be changed. And hopefully it will be a better one so that crime can be combated there.
Hey,
so that real crime.
You don't want to here it is. Here it is, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I will explain it to you. The left, or those the liberals, or whoever you want to call them, I don't care. These caring, compassionate ones, let's call it those people. The overly compassionate don't get it. They bring in these people that have no formal education, don't really care about your culture and society. They commit these crimes because guess what? In their home country, the police wouldn't give a shit. And
Nope.
you want them in your country. Really? You really want them in your country?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It just, we've got the problem here in the United States, and I can name some things that happen here in the United States that you just absolutely disgust some of you that they allow to go on. I mean, it's just sickening.
Like Ilhan Ilmar marrying her own brother.
Oh, hey, you can't confirm that now because no, they don't have the birth certificates or the DNA from them, But if somebody were to do a DNA test, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I mean, the Gestapo tactical. I was raised a poor orc child. Gestapo tactics. Yes. Yes. And when J.D. Vance said, I thought the good guys won the Cold War. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's starting to feel like we're backsliding.
I want to know why. Why do these people have to spend government money that could go to veterans and people that have been born here so that foreign nationals can come over and try to erode our way of life? You know what I mean? It used to be foreign nationals that would immigrate to the United States would be basically forced to learn our language and our laws and everything else. And if they didn't, I mean, they were, they had issues,
Yeah, they're going to have a hard time.
Now we've made it so easy that we'll print everything in their language and everything else. And then when they do something wrong, it's a slap on the wrist because, well, they didn't understand.
Okay, let me tell you from my point of view, as someone who is in the other side of the border. Basically, if you go to a house, it is better to enter through the door and be welcome instead of trying to enter through the window and try to take over a room of the house that you are entering. So basically, right. So you get the idea. And
yeah,
also,
it's not just being
if I was coming to your house, I'd knock on the door and say, "Hey, Jose, how you doing today?" And I'd stand on the outside until you said, "You may enter my home." I am not just going to walk the hell on in.
Exactly. So basically, if you go to another country, you respect people from the other country, or don't go there. This is logical thinking, okay? And also, if there are criminals from Latin America, they are not welcome in their own country. So basically, if somebody takes care in the United States, nobody is going to say anything. So,
well, that's another thing that's hilarious and goes back to the thing I was talking about is the nation of El Salvador volunteered to Donald Trump to take inmates.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were taking in some. I think I just read something. It was either
like Venezuelan
or Panama.
Shit. Yeah, they're like, send them here. We'll take them.
Yeah, like either El Salvador or Panama took a bunch of. There's some Chinese nationals, some Russian nationals, and they just shipped them there. I'm like, what a perfect place! I can put them on a boat going to China. Oh, you're going through the Panama Canal. Hey, I'd like to make $1,000 to take this Chinese national back with you.
Yeah, well, El Salvador was talking about taking them and putting them in their prison system.
Yeah, well,
depending on who they were. If they're a member of a gang, they're going to the bad place. And if they're just some other person, then they might get to go to the good place.
Yeah, when I went
either way, they're going to the place.
When I
Well,
went to the United States, well, I went to Florida, probably near where James was, and I didn't know him at the time.
Mhm.
And I tried to be a good neighbor. Indeed, I tried to respect the local culture. So
you know
it
what?
isn't that difficult. It isn't that
Jose,
difficult to behave, obey the law, all that.
Jose, a minor something like you accidentally was speeding on the highway. That's one thing. You know what I mean? It's. But when they do blatant things like here in Minneapolis, we have a rash of youth up here. I'm going to call them feral youth. They go around and purposely beat up women and steal their cars, or they'll order DoorDash or some other delivery. They'll show up at the house to deliver a pizza, and their car is gone. You know what I mean? I mean, as soon as they step out, they take the pizza and the car and they leave. You know what I mean? It's just it's gotten to the point of ridiculousness here,
Law,
and
Are these youths Somali, perhaps?
I am not going to say either way, but the neighborhood that they come from is in that region. Let's put it that way. In
Little
that area.
Mogadishu?
Yeah.
I consider that lack of law enforcement. It could
No,
come
no,
from
no,
two.
no, 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 no.
No.
It's called the lack in this country,
Oh,
Jose, of
oh,
parental guidance.
parental
There is
guidance.
no more. You cannot raise your hand to a child, and the
Oh,
child will. If you raise a hand to a child in this country, they'll call Child Protective Services in a heartbeat.
oh, so that is institutional culture because I
Yeah.
do not think that there is a law that will forbid their parents to bring discipline to their kids, right?
Well, when I was young, like if you ran your yap, pretty much any adult could box you upside the head.
When I
So,
was a youth, my Catholic school nuns and brothers and everybody else, they'd get out the Board of Education.
oh yeah, we used to catch whippings in school.
I know.
If you
Just
acted up, you went to the principal's office and he whipped your ass with the paddle, and then he told you to go back, and that was it. I mean, did it hurt? Yeah, it wasn't a great time, but after you got your ass whipping, you just went back to class and
yeah, you
Exactly.
learn real quick.
Yeah, I do not think it is parental guidance. I think it is institutional culture getting over or
Mhm.
taking over the legal system because basically they
Too
are
many damn
enforcing a
lawyers.
law that does
Yeah.
not exist.
Well, and where he is, it's the fact that one of the politicians, I think Clinton, thought it'd be a good idea to drop like 300,000 Somali savages right in the middle of Minneapolis
Jeez.
for no reason. And we're talking about a culture that
That
could not be more different than American culture if it tried.
that is well, Clinton's the one that approved the law to allow them to come in.
Right.
Uh, but I think it was Biden that extended it. I think there's a
And what's
20
crazy is all
there's
of
a
this happened after Black Hawk Down.
right. There's a 20-year deal through the INS to allow Somalis to come in if they could prove that they weren't ISS or whatever gang related, thugs related nonsense. And then I think Biden extended it or Obama extended it for another how many
And you
years?
can always tell them because they look like skinnies.
Yeah,
Well, here's the problem.
And
Is that
they've got like a different looking head.
hey, here's part of the problem is that, and this comes to birthright citizenship, and I agree some birthright citizenship should be birthright citizenship, but if you're coming over here on a green card / a visa and you're having a child here on purpose, I don't think it should extend to that child. I think that child should not be extended those
You know, that's a
protections.
huge scam amongst Russian women.
What'd you say?
That's a huge thing Russian women do.
Oh, Chinese women too. I've heard of
They
places
wait till they're almost ready to pop the kid, and then they
Mhm.
catch a flight to Miami, hang
Yeah.
out until the kid is born. Now they've got a anchor baby.
Well,
Most of them, though, 99% of them go home because they don't want to live here. But it's nice to have a kid with a U.S. passport.
well, and Chinese
Wait,
women do it in the LA, San Francisco area. They purposely fly in, have the baby, and then after they get the papers all done up and stuff and proven, then they go back. And
I
it's just
wouldn't do I wouldn't do that to my kid because I can anticipate when the kid grows up and has to file taxes.
Well, he won't because as long as he lives in our country, then
yeah, they one of the 9/11 guys had a Louisiana path, was born in Louisiana.
yeah.
Grew up in Saudi Arabia, but was born in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, one of the reasons why I say I don't think that should be you know what I mean?
Right.
It should be allowed. I mean, there should be clear definition of it. I mean, if you're here legally and you are a naturalized citizen and you have a child, that's one thing. But if you come over here just to throw a kid down the hatch so you can get that little piece of paper, you know,
Kid down the hatch.
well, what do you want to call it?
Hatch kid. We were latch kids, they're hatch kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, the legal thing is basically like a no-brainer because law is
It's
the
not
law.
like
It's
It's not
it
like
is.
our citizens can fly to France, pop out a
Yeah,
baby
yeah,
in French soil or Costa
yeah,
Rican soil, and they
yeah,
automatically get Costa Rican
yeah.
citizenship. You
Yeah,
know,
so basically, it is like some in United States they try to make a different or at least law enforcement. I would say
part of it was
here.
Jose because of the um, birthright citizenship around slavery and
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. I mean,
Mm,
they were the Democrats.
yeah,
No, don't ever think the Democrats were angels at the time. The Democrats in this country wanted to ship all the African slaves back to Africa,
They
and
mm,
did ship a lot of them back, actually.
they shipped a bunch back to Liberia, which
Liberia was a country we invented.
right
Dumped a shit
they
ton of
shipped a buttload of them back
ex-slaves.
to Liberia, but the birthright citizenship thing came into being, and there was a big issue there. So,
And Liberia was considered to be one of the nicest countries in all of Africa for a very long time. But then the native Africans voted the American born Africans out of power. And as soon as that happened, Liberia turned into a hellhole of rival warlords and gangs, and they stopped taking care of the infrastructure. You know, they dabbled in a little bit of light cannibalism, that sort of thing.
it's sort of like what's the country down there? Zimbabwe. When Zimbabwe went to
Yeah.
they kicked out all the white farmers and stuff. And it's like, oh, well,
Well,
their
there's a
economy
whole
went
war
from
over that, though.
during the elections in Costa Rica, we hope to kick out from power those congressmen that support crime, basically. So that's the next French Revolution here in Costa Rica, and I think that the French Revolution in United States will be law enforcement, basically.
I
it's
think we might have dodged a revolution.
the problem is that
Or reform, call it reform.
the problem is in Florida you have one set of laws, Minnesota you have another set of laws. If you do something like run from the police down in Florida, they're going to throw the cuffs on you and you're going to jail and you're not getting out for at least 60 days or something. They ain't going to piss with you, right? You do it here, you get slapped on the hand and you get escorted from one part of the jail to the exit door. Literally, you can rob somebody, they'll catch you, and within hours, you're in one door and out the other. As long as you're not committing a physically crime where you're hurting somebody, sorry, you're out. You're done, basically. You know, the only people that go in jail here are people that commit a physical crime and have, 10 pounds of fucking meth in their, hands, or fentanyl or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious when you cross the border from Georgia into Florida. It says "Welcome to the free state of Florida."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so Florida ain't even effing around, man. And you are right. So many times I was called in the middle of the night or whatever to like bandage up the barbs in somebody's dumb ass because they thought they were going to do a thing and the cops hit them.
Yeah.
Because that thing they fire, it fires barbs that stick in you and then they put the juice to you, man.
In Minneapolis, they don't have enough police officers to respond to the calls. You know what they tell people? If there's a property crime, yeah, just go online and report it to us. We don't have officers that come out and do fingerprinting or do any, testing for anything like that. No, we don't want that. We're just gonna let you go. Or it doesn't matter. You broke into 20 cars. Unless we catch you, we don't care. Unless we see you, we don't care. But we got other things we got to go do.
Well, not to be mean, bro, but I mean, you guys keep electing the same idiots.
Don't have to tell me.
I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to like blame you. I'm just saying.
Outstate Minnesota, they don't want any part of the Twins, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And the reason is because there's so many representatives representing the Minneapolis, St. Paul area that they overwhelm the outstate, and it shouldn't be that way.
Right. Kind of like how most of Washington State and Oregon want to join Idaho.
Right. Basically, they were talking about some southern Minnesota counties lately wanting to join Iowa, and other ones want to go South Dakota and North Dakota. They do not want to be part of.
I wonder if you could do that, if you could just kind of separate the states from the cities.
The problem with it is that you need a vote. What do you call those? And it has to start here in Minnesota. It has to start in the state legislature. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and because there's so many Democrats and Republicans there, you'll never get the 2/3 vote to do something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, and then they could vote if they can get the 2/3, voting up there and get it on the ballot. Then they could vote themselves. Nope, we're no longer part of Minnesota. We're going to go to North Dakota. So.
Yeah, before World War I kicked off, they were going to divide California into 2 states.
Well,
it was going to be the southern part, and then the northern part of California was going to be called the state of Jefferson.
Well,
and then,
as far as I'm concerned, all they need to do out of California is take Los Angeles County and just it could fall off in the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Tool sung a song about that. The chorus was "Learn to Swim." Learn to swim, learn to swim. Tool, pretty cool band.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. Hey, what is up? Violence solves everything.
And Dark Knight, I think Dark Knight is correct. If you enter a man's house, you follow the rules, and the rules are the rules of the people who are around you. So that's I agree.
But we in America, we've just decided to be stupid as shit, like a whole country of meatwads. I don't know if you've ever watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but
there's too many stupid politicians, and Minnesota's in the same thing. You guys think Elon Musk is doing his thing? If Elon Musk came to Minnesota, they'd see how much graft and everything else is inside the state government. We just had the Somalis during the COVID crisis spend $250 million on children's meals. 250 million. And they said they fed, they're like saying they fed 11,000 kids a day in a place like Park Rapids, Minnesota, with a population of like 3,000.
Do you know how it happens?
Good, man.
It happens when citizen is so smart to not get involved in politics. So the citizen needs to embrace the idea that the stupid people will be ruling.
Oh yeah,
this is how it happens.
It's a professional class of people now. It is literally a professional class. They never have a job in the private sector. Mm-hmm. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah,
I think it came from the Civil War, because I understand that before the Civil War, senators, for example, do not have a wage, so a salary. So basically, after the Civil War, they invited the senators from the other side to join, and they would offer a salary. And this is where career politicians' idea began, I think.
Sounds good to me. I mean, you're probably right. I know that when George Washington and all those guys were doing their thing, yeah, you didn't get paid. As a matter of fact, they would work at their farms, and then like a couple times a year, they would go to DC, pass whatever laws needed to be passed, handle whatever needed to be handled, and then go back to their farms.
You know what the problem with Washington, D.C. is? Omnibus spending bills. You put all this crap into one document that's 4,000 pages long, and then they can bury something in there in fine print that says, "Oh, we're going to give GM James $1 million to do X," and it's because it's part of an omnibus spending bill that everybody likes or wants. Somewhere in the bottom in line 3042 that nobody's read, James gets $1 million funneled to him through the U.S. aid or some other government agency, that and James gets a check at his doorstep for $1 million, and he's happy.
See, I'm liking this system.
Yeah.
If only it worked that way.
Huh?
If only it worked that way for me.
Oh yeah, well, you know, that's when you do your little bribes up at Congress, and you just ask for little favors, and you know, like there's like bridges in Minnesota that are funded through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that have nothing to do with a waterway or anything like that. They're just out in the middle of the country somewhere. Oh, we need a bridge out in Dunn County that needs it's got to go over this other road. So we'll just fund it for $1 million through the U.S. Corps of Engineers, and they'll put it up for us. You know what I mean?
You guys are feeling spicy today.
I am a little hot underneath the collar after I see some comments about Elon Musk and stuff, and I'm just like, so there's no graft in government? Bullshit.
Do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
The last of it, I warmed it up for you.
Okay. Well, I mean, there is a group of people in this country who are just going to say, it's like, no matter what Trump or anybody associated with Trump wants to do, they will disagree, not because it's good for them to disagree, but only because they don't want to side with Trump. Like Trump could literally come in front of Senate or Congress and say, I have the cure for cancer right here. And every Democrat in that house would vote against him.
Muktuk, the thing that we need to do is we need to have a limit on how many pages and what typeface and what size of typeface are used for a bill. Because if they said you can only have 3 pages, they would put it in 0.4 microprint on a piece of paper to get as much as possible under. But if you said it had to be a 16-point print, it could only be 2 pages long, and it had to be single subject bill, the bill to pass, meaning, all right, we're going to discuss a bill for X or Y, you would finally see something in Congress that would do something.
Well, we'll
You know what I
see.
mean?
Give Trump a chance. He's been filling out a lot of executive orders. That could be
Anyway, something that is very amusing to see is what is happening with Elon Musk and his Doge department or something, because it is going to inspire people from other nations who will want the government to be audited. And I am sure, absolutely sure, that there must be 1 or 2 politicians around the world that must be freaking out because of that.
I think you're right. I think that there are other nations out there that are right now like, oh shit.
Exactly.
Because if we're able to get stuff done like this, then it's like, well, why aren't you? And
yeah, we want that.
and
they just need to say we
people
want
are
that.
going to be like, we want that. And then, the government will either tell them to pound sand or not. But either way, it'll be bad, because if the government tells them to pound sand, then you're going to have all these people that have basically just had all of their worst.
Muktuk, I just want to say this. The Constitution was printed on 1 piece of paper. We don't need to get really too much more complicated to write a bill.
Hell, the Bill of Rights is 1 page.
Right. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We don't need to get into the legalese jargon. I mean, just if you write absolute facts saying, all right, James will get paid $1 million for his service to the United States, and that's all he'll ever get. No more Social Security, no nothing else. And they pass Congress passes it. Well, guess what? That's all James is ever going to get. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think Muktuk's in Canada.
Yeah.
And if what's his name, Polymu gets in, I mean, he's probably going to do a lot of the same things that Trump is doing, if he can.
Trudeau is a basket case. After COVID gave him an open checkbook up there, and he ruined their economy. I think.
And this new guy that's running, he's a lot more.
Muktuk, how dare you?
Oh, I thought you were Canadian. I'm sorry. Are you British?
Oh, he's an Englishman. Oh, he's a Keir Starmer guy. He's a wonderful individual, isn't he?
Keir Starmer.
The
I have
Muslim
a question,
apologist
and I've
with
asked
a
Irish
Jewish
people
wife.
this, and now I'm going to ask a British person this. How have you guys existed as long as you have and not had put into law a Bill of Rights?
I'm being a stalker because it's 7 p.m. and you haven't eaten today.
I know. Well, give me
It's bad for you.
a couple minutes. I know it's bad for me.
Don't make me yell at you.
You yell at me. I kind of like it.
Wood spoon, Mrs. James. Wood spoon. Get in there with a wood spoon. He'll respond.
The idea of I want my government audited is not going to be immediate. I am sure that it will take a few years, but I am absolutely sure that it will bend elections results.
You have a Bill of Rights. Well, you need to get rid of your Bill of Rights, Muktuk, and you need to adopt the U.S. Bill of Rights, because your Bill of Rights sucks.
Hey, Muktuk, I'll say it all you want if you want me to about Keir Starmer. He's nothing but a fucking loose fucking goddamn cannon who doesn't know his head from his ass. How about that?
Yeah, I love how he's talking about the possibility of English boots on the ground in Ukraine. It's like, really? You're going to send the English military into Ukraine to fight Russia? That's smart. That's a good idea. That'll work out.
Yeah. No, did you hear the latest? I saw something about that the EU was thinking about sending X number of troops per country to Ukraine to stop the war.
Well, it'll stop all right. 4 Russian nuclear weapons in the UK. It ceases to exist. All they got to do is hit like York, Edinburgh, London, and Liverpool, and there is no UK. It's absolutely just gone. So, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go ahead and instigate Russia into nuclear exchange.
Well,
and I'm not sure America would jump in on that.
What?
I mean,
English
because
got their own nuke subboats. They'll take care of themselves.
Well, I'm saying at this point, I don't think we give a shit. It's like the Europeans have been dickheads for so long that it's like, yeah, we don't care. Start a war with Russia. When they nuke London off the fucking face of the earth, we'll be like, oh,
I gotta go, gentlemen. See you later.
See ya.
Okay, see ya.
We'll be like, oh, that sucks.
By the way, seeing that what Muktuk said about lawful evil, you know that MechWarrior Destiny is a chaotic good book.
Chaotic good book.
Yeah, it is chaotic in its layout, but it is good.
I never had a problem with it. You know, you open it up, it tells you a little bit of stuff, and then you jump into character creation. I mean, some of the stuff, you're right, is kind of weird, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like there are some things that could be moved, but yeah, if somebody were to ask me though, James, Europe is going to war with Russia. Should we join? I'd be like, no. Go ahead and let the Russians nuke them into the ground, and then that'll be a good lesson for them about how they're supposed to pay their part of the UN and pay the amount of money they're supposed to pay for the military. And, maybe they shouldn't have been relying on us to protect them all these years because the United States has more in common with the Russian Federation than we ever will with any continental European power. I mean, we're Christians, they're Christians. They have a lot more rights than anywhere in continental Europe does. There's no reason I can imagine why. And to be fair, Trump did say that he does intend to make friends with Russia. We could dump out of NATO tomorrow, make an alliance with Putin, and that would basically be the end of the rest of the world. Putin is absolutely 100% not squeamish. That is a mistake, Muktuk. People who do psychiatrists and stuff like that, who do personality stuff, they have said that when Vladimir Putin says that he's going to do a thing, if you keep doing a thing, he 100% means that he will do the thing. And that is because Eastern Europeans are not the same as Western Europeans. Something I know about a little bit since, it's in my blood. Like the second that the European nations start dropping troops into Ukraine, wait and see what happens with Russia. They will go nuts. Every Russian citizen capable of carrying an arm, any kind of firearm, will join the military. And at that point, it'll be no longer this slow grinding war where, the Russians take some land and then they move up and kind of, pussyfoot around a little bit, and then they take some more land and kind of move up. No, it'll be a straight up, we're crushing ass now. Bombers, nukes. I mean, When's the last time anyone has heard of the Russians using any of their bombers in Ukraine? Like a single bear? Nope. No one's heard it because it hasn't happened. They have been playing such soft-handed pussyfooting around with Ukraine. It's really like kind of crazy, really. You know, and plus this year they raised something like 600,000 soldiers. So I don't know how big the UK army is, but it's probably not 600,000. And I doubt that anyone in the UK, because I doubt anyone in the US, has the will to go to war with Russia. But you start effing around in Eastern Europe, and the Russians will definitely show you the will that is behind what they're doing. So, what's you folks can't cripple our empire. No, you already crippled your empire. You didn't need us. You did that. You went from ruling a quarter of the earth to ruling an area about the size of the state of Michigan. And then you imported a bunch of people from other countries and gave them more rights than you give your own people. So, yeah, it's like I have mixed feelings about the UK. Part of me thinks maybe the US should go over there, land troops again, because it's not like you could stop us, and liberate you from your own government, because your government has become Stalinist. Exactly. You're 100% right there, Muktug. It's artificially limited and artificially prolonged. One reason it's prolonged is if you study Russian culture and warfare, when possible, they ground and pound. They grind their enemies down. That's just the way they fight wars. And
this is war of attrition.
Always have.
This is war of attrition, right?
Yep. And by moving slowly and bringing the artillery up, they can cause their opponents to suffer far more casualties than they do. So they just move slow and they just kind of roll up and then, start dropping thermobaric weapons all over the place. And then when they're done and the Ukrainian forces have been forced to withdraw, they take that bit of land and they move up another 100 yards or so, and then they start doing the thing all over again. And that's what they've been doing. Otherwise, if they'd been really serious about this thing, they would have been dropping Spetsnaz and other troops right in the middle of Kiev. They would have been launching their Tupolevs and all kinds of shit. Ukraine would have been reduced to a fiery rubble in weeks. And how do I know that? Because that's what they did to the Chechens. When the Chechens decided they wanted to be independent, the Russians literally destroyed every structure in Chechnya. Everything. There wasn't a brick sitting on top of a brick by the time they were done. They leveled that country twice. And now the Chechens are fighting for the Russians in Ukraine because their new leadership realized that fighting against Russia is not helping them out. How can I be missing an exalted figure with a machine gun? That makes no sense. Makes no sense, guys. But you heard my wife yelling at me, so I'm going to get off of here. Germany now sends police goon squads to storm homes. Yeah, to steal people's phones and shit because they posted memes. And apparently insulting a German politician gets you arrested. But they think that But they're guys crying about not having a shared thing. We don't. The United States does not want to share that fucking culture or those principles. You know, it's like that English guy that was talking that shit. If Americans keep posting angry memes, we're going to start extraditing them and sending people over to get them. And it's like, fucking come on and do that. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been 200 years since we put an Englishman's face in the mud with a gun in around in their chest. The second they think they're going to roll over here and start arresting Americans for our freedom of speech, that'll be the end of England for sure. We will straight up F them up. And that won't even be our army. That'll just be our people, who are the most armed people on the planet. There is no one on the planet that possesses more firearms than American citizens. We possess the lion's share, which is why I keep asking my English friends, how come you haven't forced your government to give you our Bill of Rights so that you can say whatever you want and own a gun if you want, and have the right to not be searched against your will, and property rights and all that sort of thing? How have you guys not done that? And I asked what's his name, Dark Knight of Hibernia, the same thing. I'm like, why have you guys not done that? Like, you fought your ass off to get free, but instead of adopting a Bill of Rights that would actually protect you, you pretty much become the EU's bitch. It's like, good job. Good job. All those Irish and Englishmen that died during the Troubles, doesn't matter. It is all a waste of freaking time. Because, now the president of Ireland ain't even Irish. It's like they fought all this time to run the English out of Ireland so they could rule themselves. And now their president's like Sikh or something.
I believe that something amusing is about to happen. And the amusing thing is that normally in the past, people with power told the normal people that change is unavoidable and you must embrace it and all that kind of things. Okay. But they didn't embrace any change. But the amusing thing that I anticipate that will happen in the next years is that change will reach them.
Oh, it's coming. I mean, people are being fired and people are being investigated.
So I think that an amusing change is going to happen. It will not affect the average people, but the people up there. So
it won't affect me, but I'll tell you what, people are already asking questions about how all of these politicians are multimillionaires with their salary being $100 and something thousand a year. And yet Nancy Pelosi's got a net worth of 200 and something million.
Yeah, people will start to ask questions.
Oh, we're at.
I don't know what will happen, but the thing is that change is going to reach them.
Anyway, ending this, go eat since I have not ate. And I will catch you homeboys later.
Okay, so it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Jose.